Attitude Change Your Life. Thanks for joining me today. Our guest today is Tanya Brown, sister of Nicole Brown Simpson, who is married to O.J. Simpson. Tanya and her family are nationally recognized for their work with domestic violence prevention, and Tanya works as a life coach, speaker, and an author, and she is an expert in the area of mental health. Tanya, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm honored.
You know, we've had a few conversations recently, and we've had the opportunity to talk about your work and your life, and you really do have a story to share, and I want to get right into it because there's so much for us to cover.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tanya.
You know what, I really wanted to say thank you so much for addressing mental health. Like you had mentioned in the intro, everybody knows my family from domestic violence, but nobody knows what I went through, and I'm so glad we're finally talking about this because with the state of the economy and the state of our nation financially, you know, there's depression is on the increase, domestic violence, alcoholism. I mean, it's an ugly world that's going on in some of these homes that exist in our nation. So thank you so much for the willingness to open up this door for myself and for people who are listening.
Well, and I really do appreciate you taking time to sit with me and talk about this issue because I agree with you. I think that our society as a whole right now, we have a lot of issues that need to be addressed. And it's very courageous that someone like you, that you're taking the time to share a very intimate part of your life with our listeners. And I do appreciate that. I do have to start again, and I hate to do this to you over and over, but we need to just address how it started for you. Your sister Nicole, in the 90s, unless you were living under a rock, you knew about this story. You knew about the tragic murder of your sister. And, you know, I've shared this with you. I feel like I know your family because I watched day in and day out from the high-speed car chase through the court trial to the verdict. So I feel like I know what you went through. And of course I don't. But you had to deal with such a horrible, horrible tragedy. You lost your friend, you lost your sister. And on top of that, you had to deal with it in such a public way. It was a terrible thing, but you couldn't even have the privacy to mourn the way that you needed to. And that started what happened to you in your life. And if you would pick up there and share with our listeners exactly what did happen to you.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, that was the challenge. I mean, first of all, I really want to say to everybody who's listening to this, thank you so much for the love and support, because without your love and support, I mean, that's what kept us up every day. That's what kept us going. And it's like we have to do this for victims, for survivors, and for other people. Just we're feeling so much love and support from so many. So I truly appreciate you and all of you who are listening for that love and support. You know, for 16 years, or for a good 10 years, rather, from Nicole's murder up until 2006, I was stuffing all my emotions, my pain, my grief, my anger, my jealousy, my envy that I had towards my oldest sister. I mean, it was just a really ugly time. A lot of, you know, me being the baby of 4 girls, I wanted my voice to be heard, but I didn't have the courage to speak up and to allow what I wanted to educate and empower other people on. And because I was actually being told, let Denise take care of that part of everything, the oldest sister. And so as the baby sister, I was listening out of respect to my parents. Okay, I'm going to let Denise take care of everything and, you know, let her speak up, let her be the spokesperson. And I'm the counselor in the family. So for all of you counselors out there, you can imagine, you know, when you are a caretaker, when you want to take care of others and you are suppressing that passion and that mission and that motivation to help other people, that just festers inside of you, and it can make you a very unhappy person. And that's what was happening to me for 10 years. But I had no idea my life was going on. I was in a relationship, a very dysfunctional relationship, because sometimes you attract that when you're down and out and at your lowest point. But for, you know, up until 6 years ago, we were told really, or during the entire trials, and I say trials because there were many going on at one time, we were told when to smile, when not to smile, how to dress, what not to wear, when to cry, when not to cry, who to hang out with, who not to hang. I mean, it was a constant control. Mm-hmm. We can speak, we can't speak. This is what you can speak on. This is what you can't. So it was just like we were unable to really grieve properly, like you had mentioned. You know, when a loved one dies, you go through a process of the 7 stages of grief. Mm-hmm. We didn't. It was like life was so invasive. We had to share it with everybody, but more so, we had to share it with the media, and the media was just so intrusive. There were 6 to 8 helicopters over our house, hovering every single day for months.
Right.
We had 24-hour security around our house because we were getting death threats. So nobody really knows a lot of these underlying issues that, that we were going under. And then all of a sudden, 10 years later, in a brief moment, something can happen, which is called a trigger that can set you off and change the path of your life forever.
And Tanya, what was it that happened to you?
My wedding was canceled 4 days before in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And he got cold feet. And he canceled, and for 1 month, I went into self-destruction mode. I was popping pills. I was angry. I was a heavy drinker. I was on a Klonopin from the death of my friend Troy in 2000, which was a significant loss in my life. It was like losing the brother I never had.
Right.
And so I was on Klonopin getting through that loss. And so that, after when the wedding was canceled, I went into self-destruction. I remember doing a presentation, not a presentation, but I was introducing a guest speaker at one of our fundraisers at the Playboy Mansion that we used to have. And Denise was like in the lower left-hand corner of my view, just saying, shut up, because I was just so angry. I was angry at God. I hated everybody. And I'm not a person who hates. I'm a person who loves and sees joy and happiness in everything, no matter how desperate times are. And but yeah, it was on October 9th. It was exactly 1 month after my cancellation. We had a family friend of ours over from New York who Denise knew for 40 years, and he said something, don't even remember what it was, but I snapped. And it was enough for me to almost hit my dad. Mm-hmm. I called Denise horrific names. I called her son, you're just like OJ, and I stormed out of the room. I went crazy. And I don't remember any of it because my sister Dominique shares this with me. That's how I'm able to relate the story now.
Tanya, is that when you ended up in the hospital?
I ended up in the hospital. On that night, on October 9th, I went into my bedroom and I had pills in one hand and a bottle of wine in the other. And at that very moment of contemplation, my sister Dominique came in and said, what the hell are you doing? And I scooped up the pills. I still took 4, but the intention was there. Like, I did not want to go through one more loss. And at that time, I didn't know it was a loss that it needed to happen. It was a trigger that I needed to happen to place me in a behavioral health center the very next day where I was an inpatient for 10 days. And while I was inside, as we call it, I couldn't see the beauty of anything, and I had an oceanfront room in Laguna Beach. I was horribly angry. I got over-medicated from psychiatrists when I was in the hospital. I'm an advocate for medications, but you got to be your own advocate when being prescribed medication. And I was in this 10 days of an emotional tornado. But the cool thing about this program is that it not only saved my life, but it gave me the structure and the tools I needed from today, from that point on, for the rest of my life. It gave me the tools and the coping strategies that everyone needs to get through the stressors of life. So when I was in the inpatient for 10 days, I went to every scheduled class, and instead of going to the kitchen and gossiping or going on a smoking break or whatever, I went to my room, and I reviewed that class material, and I journaled, and I processed my pain, and I processed my grief and my anger. I processed. And I got all that emotion out through journaling. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm a total advocate for journaling and gratitude journaling, helping people get whatever they're stuffing outside. Because, Joan, that's what happened to me. I neglected to feel my pain. Right. And 10 years later, it bit me in the butt. And that's what I want to encourage people now, is that do not neglect the emotional stress or chaos that's going on in your life. Don't neglect it. Don't ignore it. Acknowledge it, process it, release it in a healthy way, of course. But if people don't face their stress and their depression and their anxiety, Joan, they're going to end up where I ended up, or they're going to end up being, excessive drinkers or gamblers or excessive sexual activity, and on the extreme, violent, and maybe even suicide.
We are so trained to compartmentalize, to keep things in, to not show our emotions. And people today really want a quick fix for things. If times get difficult, they want to win the lottery, or they want to have a few too many to drink to try to numb their pain, rather than doing what you did. You took an active role in your recovery. As you said, instead of going out on a break, you went back and journaled. And if I'm understanding what you're saying, we are responsible for our lives, for our health, and we need to pay attention to what's happening to us, and we need to be proactive and active at the same time.
Absolutely. We're too quick to take a pill. Oh, I'm stressed, take a pill. Oh, I'm anxious, take a pill. Hey, you know what? I'm an advocate for medication. If you need it, great. But you know what? No pill in the world is going to prevent your response or reaction to a stressful event.
Absolutely.
No pill will ever take care of that. It may, release it a little bit, and it may not make it as severe. But if you don't do the self-work along with medication, it's not going to be as effective. Unless you have the coping skills to get through a stressful event, I'm telling you that stressful event will get the best of you. And it's acknowledging the stress as it's coming, because when it festers inside of you and it gets to a boiling point, you explode. So let's acknowledge the stress. Let's prevent it. Let's do yoga. Let's meditate. Here's a novel idea, Joan. Let's schedule yourself into your day.
That is the one thing that we all forget to do every day. We have so much that we give to other people. We do not take care of ourselves, and then we wonder why we break down.
That's it, and it doesn't take a lot. Here's something that, and I'm human. I fall off the joy train every once in a while, and, but at least I have the tools to jump back on, right? But I'm telling you, for anybody who's listening right now, if you take 10 minutes in the morning to meditate on a proverb or, a scripture, or talk to the universe, or whoever your God is. I mean, we all have our higher power, whatever that. And if you don't have a higher power, find one, because you can't go through stuff alone. I firmly believe that. And take 10 minutes in the morning for yourself. Take 10 minutes in the afternoon. Take 10 minutes in the evening. And before you go to bed, write down 5 things that you are grateful for that day. Because when we are depressed or stressed or anxious, it's very difficult, and it's a very challenging thing to see the good in anything sometimes. So sometimes we need to sit down and really force ourselves that I don't care if you saw a beautiful bird in the sky, write it down, because you saw it, you should be grateful for it. I'm grateful during this time that, I had to move back home. I'm grateful at this time that I have my family to come home to. There are things in this world to be grateful for.
This is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.